One of the most iconic and underrated games of the sixth gaming generation is The Punisher. Known for being an incredibly gruesome game with amazing gameplay and atmosphere, today we're going to be talking about The Punisher. Before we start, I know I did a community poll on the next video you guys wanna see, and you guys wanted to see the Saw retrospective. I ordered and am currently waiting for my capture card to arrive, so when it does, I will definitely be making the video. Anyways, let's get back to it. The Punisher is an action-adventure third-person shooter developed by Volition and published by THQ. It was released in 2005 for PC, PlayStation 2 and Xbox. Volition is actually a very well-known and respected game studio that has made the Saints Row series and Red Faction. The game follows Frank Castle, an anti-hero that goes around killing all bad guys and anyone who looks at him wrong. He's one of the most badass quote-unquote heroes of all time, definitely my favorite. This is also considered to be one of the best comic book character games ever made. Frank Castle is after revenge for the death of his family. He kills everyone responsible for their deaths, including drug dealers, mobsters, and a guy with a robot rocket launcher hand. Throughout the game, we get flashbacks of Frank and his PTSD, flashbacks that show he is a war veteran, the death of his family, and a bunch of other fucked up shit. When people say certain words like mercy or family, it triggers flashbacks of his family and of his time in the war.
It's true. I ain't even whacked anybody yet. I have a family.
Everyone does.
Early on, it's established that Frank is a stone cold killer that doesn't even smile or show any emotions. He has a dialogue in one mission where he says, "If I could smile, I would do it right now."
I don't smile much. Don't smile ever. But if I did, this would be one.
The story of Frank Castle and his murder spree is not the most in-depth lore ever made. It's a simple story that definitely works. It gives Frank a reason and a justification to be killing all these bad guys, while also being interesting and makes us somewhat sympathetic towards him. Frank Castle is way more interesting and deep than just a killer. However, I think most people see that. If you've never watched the Punisher TV series, I really recommend you play this game and then watch it. Both are really good and fit well with each other. During the game, I found myself questioning if Frank's actions are justified. His family did die, but that doesn't give him the go-ahead to kill like the third of New York. However, he does only kill bad guys. I like when media makes you think about yourself and make your own conclusions. The best part of this game is the gameplay. Basically, you walk around shooting bad guys. It may seem so simple and boring, but certain mechanics and features give it so much depth and replayability. The core mechanics are that you have a primary and a secondary weapon. You can even dual wield guns, however you can't reload them without dropping one, and it significantly reduces their accuracy since you can't aim. You can do a Max Payne-like lunging move where you can dodge bullets and drop to the ground. However, there is no slow motion to help you aim. If close enough, you can grab an enemy and use them as a shield. It's a really useful feature if there are many enemies around you, as the guy will just take all the damage. The downside to this is that your aim will be significantly hindered. After you have used the enemy to your liking, you can execute him. While killing enemies, you will see that you will slowly be filling this blue bar next to your health. Once you have filled this bar, you can activate Slaughter mode. This will put you into a predator-like state that will make you run faster, take less damage, instant kill enemies, and be able to throw knives at them from afar. This ability is very short, but it is great for clearing large amounts of enemies. These are the core elements that you have. The fun in this game is in the additional abilities. While playing through levels, you will find new weapons. There are 18 guns in the game, ranging from regular pistols to ARs, flamethrowers, and grenade launchers. Before you start a mission, you can choose what weapons you want to bring in, which will let you play with your own unique playstyle. After beating the game the first time, you want to replay the other levels just so you can breeze through them with all the weapons that you have now unlocked. It gives a big reason to replay the game. Each level has 3 medals that you can get: bronze, silver, and gold. These medals show how well you did in a level. The medals represent how much you killed in the level, how quickly, and several other factors. These medals add to the feeling that this game is an arcade-like shooter. I never replayed any of the levels to better my scores, but I guess it's a pretty neat feature to have. There is also an upgrade/progression system. After every level is completed, you get the points you got in the level put in your balance. You can purchase a bunch of upgrades like shields, longer slaughter mode, adding suppressors to certain weapons, and very overpowered upgrades like being able to regain health from killing enemies. All of these features counter the main issue in this game, the lack of unique gameplay and enemies. After like 5 levels, you will see that you are doing the same thing repeatedly and are fighting the same enemies. Sometimes you will fight a boss, but all bosses are really easy except for Bushwhacker, the guy with a robot rocket hand. That fight is really buggy and messy, but that's a whole other topic to talk about. Features like upgrades, new weapons, and even medals give the player another reason to replay the game by changing it up himself. The best and most controversial feature of this game is the brutality system. If the Punisher is close enough to an enemy, he can grab him, as I mentioned before, and interrogate him. Interrogating the enemy could give you information about incoming enemies, where some enemies are planning to ambush you, some story-related info, or sometimes even PTSD flashbacks of your family dying. Fun! After you're done interrogating an enemy, you have the choice to either let him go or to execute him. Executing him will reduce some points that you have. But I still always execute them cause I'm playing as the fucking Punisher, why wouldn't I kill them? Another incentive for interrogating enemies is to regain some of your lost health. In this game, there are no health packs or medkits. The only way to regain health is by interrogating enemies. If you execute them while interrogating, you won't get any health. In certain areas, there are special interrogation areas. You can grab an enemy and interrogate them while using dangling knives in the kitchen, a furnace, a rhino, a shark, and many more memorable methods. These places are calling for you to execute the enemy after you interrogate them, as they are the most gruesome and cool. This execution feature really reminds me of Manhunt and its core gameplay of murdering people as brutally as possible. In this game, they punish you for doing this by taking away points and not giving you health, but I think this was added just because of the backlash of the media. I think that this game is very similar, if not was inspired by Max Payne. It shares the same gameplay type of just running through and killing everyone in sight. However, I personally think that this game is way better than Max Payne. Now I know that everyone is booing and disagreeing with me, but hear me out. This game has way more weapons that are cooler, has a brutality system, and has cooler maps. Even though the Punisher is 4 years older than Max Payne, it has way smoother and more fluid animations. The only thing that Max Payne has better is the story and the bullet time feature. To finish off the gameplay section of the video, I want to talk about the most iconic part of this game. You may have seen clips of this scene floating around the internet, as when I played this, I somehow recognized it and knew what would happen. You are in a coffin. listening to people mourning the death of a mobster. Frank has enough and opens the coffin to reveal himself and that he has a fucking LMG. He starts ripping into the mobster family as they all flail around and run. I love this part as you can see the shock on the mobsters' faces. It also shows how clever the Punisher really is and is definitely the best part of the game. All good being said about the gameplay, nearing the end, I just wanted the game to end. If there would have been no medals, interesting maps, or upgrades, I would have quit the game after like 2 hours. There are 10 levels in the game, each set in a different and unique place. Each level is very different from the other. For example, there are some rather boring maps like the crack house, but there's also a zoo, a mansion of a crime boss, and a dock that is storing a nuclear warhead. Each map has unique executions like the rhino in the zoo. All of this variety in the environment makes you forget about the repetitive gameplay. The voice acting is done by Thomas Jane, who also acted in the Punisher movie, which is superb. It really matches the voice and feel of Frank. It immerses you and really makes you feel that you are taking control of the Punisher.
Stop! I don't know anything! I'm gonna be a daddy!
No, you're not.
A pretty big issue in this game is the sound quality. During my playthrough, every cutscene was very quiet for some reason. It was hard to follow the story when you could not hear anything anyone was saying. Some sound effects would bug out and glitch, but that would only happen sometimes. The dialogue is actually very interesting and well done. I'm not really talking about the voice acting, cause it's fine, but I'm talking about the dialogue. Frank sometimes drops one-liners after brutally murdering someone, which makes him an even bigger badass than you fought before. Each time you interrogate someone, they will have unique info that they will tell you. However, if you interrogate like 3 people in the same area, you will notice that they start to say the same thing over and over again. There is also one hilarious moment where Frank is face to face with a mortician in a funeral home. Frank is about to kill him, but the mortician thanks the Punisher for bringing him so much business that he can afford to pay for his 3 children to go to college.
I'll never get it out. It's you, the Punisher. Don't shoot! I'm the mortician. I own this establishment. I'd like to thank you for all you've done for my family over the years. Your handiwork has put my 3 kids through college. Well, if you'll excuse me, I've got a mess to clean up.
I was laughing for so long after this part. The rare times that this game does have humor, they hit it right on the nail and it never fails to make me laugh. I also want to briefly mention the graphics. I was honestly so impressed by the quality of the graphics, models and animations. Considering that this game was released in 2005, it looks amazing. The Punisher received mixed reviews upon its release. While some critics praised the game's brutal and violent gameplay, others criticized its repetitive missions, uninspired story, and glorified violence and gore. Detroit Free Press gave the Xbox version a score of 3 stars out of 4 and stated, "This isn't a game that requires a lot of skill, but if you can get past the gore, it's a rarity in the comic book world. A game that stays true to the original work and doesn't stink." I feel that they perfectly reviewed this game by saying that it has a simple gameplay mechanics, but so much depth to it. A big issue on release was that the ESRB, the company that gives those ratings you see on game covers, gave the game an M for mature. This really hurts a game that gets the rating, as a lot of stores refuse to sell M-rated games. Volition had to add certain censorship features, like adding black and white filters to the graphic execution scenes, so that they would lower the rating to 18+. Despite everything, the game was a commercial success, selling well on both the Xbox and PlayStation 2, selling around 1 million copies and being a profit for Volition. The Punisher is one of the most underrated superhero games that everyone should try at least once. It's a perfect game for Punisher lovers and action game lovers. Thank you for watching today's video.